Will my Medicare cover cancer-related costs such as chemotherapy? And if so, how much will Medicare pay and how much will I be responsible for? This is a common question that we get at Agape all the time. And in today's video, I'm going to dive in and do my best to give you some information to help you so you are prepared if you are new to Medicare or if you're going on Medicare. And here's the short answer. It really depends on which Medicare option you choose. Option number one is I stay on original Medicare. I get a Medicare supplement plan, also known as a Medigap plan, a prescription drug plan, and any other ancillary plan that I may need to address whatever needs that I have. Option number two is what's known as a Medicare Advantage plan or a Part C plan, where they take all of my benefits and they simply put it into one package. Just some quick facts about cancer, so that way you know why it's important to make sure that you're adequately covered if you're going on Medicare. Is number one is cancer is the second most common cause of death in our country. It's responsible for 1 out of every 4 deaths here in America. 1 out of 2 men and 1 out of every 3 women are diagnosed, and 77% of cancers are diagnosed from the ages of 55 and older. This is why it's a very common question we get here at Agape. All right, so let's look at option number one real quickly. Option number one, if I stay on original Medicare, that's my red, white, and blue card, and then I get a supplement or a Medigap plan and a Part D plan, my Medicare is going to pay 80% of my medical cost, and my supplement will pay the other 20% that's left over, minus my Part B deductible, which for 2024 is $240. So if I ring up $50,000 in medical bills, I'm responsible for $240 of that. My Part B will pay 80%, and the most popular supplement plan out there is the Plan G, will pay the other 20%. Now, the good news is if you're looking specifically at chemotherapy, it falls under your Medicare Part B. So just real quickly, we'll put this on the screen so you can see this as I'm reading it. But Part B covers most chemotherapy drugs that are given by mouth or intravenously, such as cancer treating medication. Now, Part D covers chemotherapy drugs that are only taken by mouth, as well as other prescription drugs used during cancer treatment, such as anti-nausea drugs and pain medication. So that is another thing you need to be concerned about, is if those chemotherapy or those drugs do not fall under your Part B, then the one thing that you want to be concerned about is if it falls under my Medicare Part D, well, then you have to worry about your plan's deductible, which the average deductible for 2024 in a Part D plan is $545. And then also you have to worry about whatever that max out of pocket. In other words, whatever you, the Medicare beneficiary, are responsible for through one calendar year. Now, before we dive in and explore option number two, if you are getting value out of this video so far, then please take a moment to hit the like button for us. Give us some feedback below and then subscribe so that way you're notified every time we drop fresh content like this. And this just helps us help more Medicare beneficiaries like yourself. Option number two is I go on a Medicare Advantage plan. And a Medicare Advantage plan, simply put, is where they take my medical, my prescription drugs, they give me some ancillary services such as dental, vision, hearing, and more, and they put it all under one roof. And so the thing that you want to be concerned about with a Medicare Advantage plan is they have what's known as max out-of-pockets. And to put it in very simplistic terms, a max out-of-pocket just means the responsibility that you have as a Medicare beneficiary in regards to your medical costs for the year. So like where I live here in North Mississippi, the average max out-of-pocket for Medicare Advantage plans, also known as Part C plans, is around $6,000 per year. I ring up $50,000 in medical bills, and I'm going to use that same scenario. My Medicare would pay $80,000 and my Medigap plan would pay $20,000. My responsibility on this particular Medicare Advantage plan here in my area would be around $6,000 for the calendar year. Why is that important to you? because when you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis and all the costs associated with that, you're going to be responsible for that $6,000 pretty quickly throughout the year. And the bad news about it is it resets every calendar year. So once again, if you're still dealing with that cancer diagnosis in 2025, then that max out of pocket, whatever that amount is something that you'll be responsible for in that calendar year. Another thing you need to be concerned about if you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis and you're concerned about the cost and what that's going to look like for you is networks. These Medicare Advantage plans are network-based plans. We try to never put anybody on an HMO plan because an HMO plan is very restrictive, and it means I can only go in that particular carrier's network unless it's deemed as a medical emergency. We prefer a PPO plan. I can go in and out of the network. I just pay a little bit more if I go out of the network. Why is that a big deal to you as the Medicare beneficiary? Simply put, you could get referred by one of your doctors to another specialist or to another doctor or to another hospital or some sort of provider, and you want to make sure that you have the peace of mind of being able to go there even if they're not in the network. Now, one thing I do need to make very clear, even if they're out of the network and you're on a PPO plan, it's still at that doctor's discretion on whether they'll take that PPO plan or not. We want to be concerned about networks, and we want to be concerned about our max out of pocket. Also, even though the Part D is included in most Medicare Advantage plans, there's no deductible. However, you do need to know the fine print of what you would be responsible as a Medicare beneficiary on a Medicare Advantage plan if those drugs were to fall under the Part D category. Another important thing to be made aware of is 54% of all cancer-related costs are non-medical. In other words, they're miscellaneous expenses. And as you, the Medicare beneficiary, you need to be made aware of this, that Medicare will not cover anything miscellaneous. This is if you wanted to go get a second or third opinion, any travel cost, any hotel cost, any food cost, any other miscellaneous cost that's outside of your Medicare will not be covered by Medicare. And so what we see a lot of times and what we strongly recommend is that Medicare beneficiaries invest in what's known as a lump sum cancer plan, where it pays out kind of like a life insurance. If you were to get a diagnosis, then what would happen is they would pay you a lump sum that would put cash into your budget to help shield you against those miscellaneous costs. Now, I want to be very clear. It's not mandatory that you get one, but if you want to have a greater peace of mind and greater protection, if God forbid something like this did happen, then you would have that extra money within your budget to protect yourself. So we would love to help dissect this even further, but in order to do that, because everyone's situation is unique, we would love for you to call the number on the screen. We work in most states, and if I don't work in your state, then I have a network of seasoned Medicare advisors that I trust that I can recommend to you. But we would like to look at your situation and give you those recommendations to help you get this right the first time. This is how important it is. You can also click on the website link below, go to our website, and you can fill out the contact form, and either myself or one of our Medicare advisors would be more than happy to walk through all that information with you. And by the way, if you want to take a deeper dive into Medicare, then you can go watch my Medicare 101 3-part series here.